to the promise of an end. The world is riddled with maggots, the maggots are getting fat. They're making a tasty meal of all the bosses and bureaucrats. They're taking over the boardrooms and they're fat and full of pride. And they all came out of the woodwork on the day the Nazi died. So if you meet with these historians, I'll tell you what to say. Tell them that the Nazis never really went away. They're out there burning houses down and peddling racist lies. And we'll never rest again until every Nazi dies.
Woke up one morning and there were soldiers. Oh, bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. Woke up one morning and there were soldiers. The invasion had begun. Lend me your shoulder, we'll stand together. Oh, bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. Lend me your shoulder, we'll stand together. But I feel my time has come, and if I die here for the resistance, oh bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. And if I die here for the resistance, you must lay me in my grave among the flowers upon the mountain. Oh bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. Among the flowers upon the mountain, let me rest among the brave. Someday the people will pick the flowers. Oh bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. Someday the people will pick the flowers, and they will remember my name. This is the flower of the resistance. Oh bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. This is the flower of the resistance, and those who died for liberty. This is the flower of the resistance. Oh bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. This is the flower of the resistance, and those who died for liberty. This is the flower of our resistance, and those who died for liberty.
Come all of you good workers, good news to you I'll tell of how the good old Union has come in here to dwell.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
My daddy was a miner and I'm a miner's son, and I'll stick with the Union till every battle's won.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
They say in Harlan County there are no neutrals there. You'll either be a Union man or a thug for J.H. Blair.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
Oh, workers, can you stand it? Oh, tell me how you can. Will you be a lousy scab or will you be a man?
Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
Don't scab for the bosses, don't listen to their lies. Us poor folks haven't got a chance unless we organize.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on? Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
Hello there, hello there. Hello there, everybody. How the devil are we all? I am. I'm okay. Thank you for asking. The reason that I'm not very well, and I'm only okay, is I've got a tinsy-winsy little bit of a headache. So that's why I'm not on camera, because having the light flash right into my fucking face would probably not be a great idea right now. The eyes are the window of the soul and brain. So, you know. That's a thing. So I am a disembodied voice for the evening. It's been a while since you gritty posted. Yeah, I thought I'd bring it back. Your chances of being killed by the gritty if you're a fascist are significant. That's all I'll say. He yearns for blood. Disembodied podcast. That's not how this works. Otherwise, like, the radio is a podcast, and then it just doesn't mean anything anymore. Will you ever see the return of the VTube strawberry, Kev? I suppose I could do. Yeah. It's free. You can do it. Didn't I do an entire stream? I think I might have been quite high. Didn't I once do a stream as the strawberry with Curtis? Or did I have I mashed up two different experiences there? I don't know. If it isn't a podcast, then why are you such a bean? Check my atheist. Thank you, Fogel. Yes. I'd like to tell you I've had a particularly productive or brilliant day, but I haven't really. I've done bits and bobs, but nothing particularly interesting. You know. Yes or Christie? What? Specs, you've gone off on a wild one there. I don't know what the fuck you're asking me. I honestly don't know what that's supposed to mean. Yeah, oh, sorry, yes or Christie as in the strawberry. Right, I'm with you, sorry. Yes, you as a strawberry chatted to Curtis. That's wild that I did that. So Curtis has both interviewed Adolf Hitler and me as a strawberry. And in many respects, they're the same thing when you think about it. Everyone go and follow some random geek. Not just like a person who is a random geek. I mean, like specifically the channel in there in chat. They do stuff and that. Regional holiday yesterday. This is one of the things. It's a baked... Hang on a minute. We've got a fan-produced scrandal situation occurring in the Discord, apparently. Where are we at? Hang on a minute. What the fuck is this mess? Right, apparently it's a huge baked stuffed potato with butter and... Oh my god. Cash caval... Apologies. A kind of yellow cheese. It's been told it's similar to cheddar. What do you mean you've been told? Do you not get cheddar? Isn't cheddar like the biggest cheese in the world? I don't know. Anyway. And the rest of the stuffing is up to you. The one pictured is with ham, pickles, and savoury yogurt. Oh, you people are disgusting. Ugh. But there were about a dozen options in total. Weighs about half a kilo. Savoury yogurt and pickles. No. No, just no. Cheddar is geographically protected. Yeah, but they sell it everywhere. It has to be made in cheddar, or roughly in cheddar, I believe. But like... But like they sell it in other places. Did they not get it in Bulgaria? I don't know. I have no idea. Bulgaria's in the EU, right? Well, I suppose Britain isn't anymore, but yeah. Yeah, well. The single most popular... Oh, that's the cheese shop. The Python cheese shop sketch. It is a good sketch. Shall we have it? Fuck it, we're doing the Python cheese shop sketch. Apropos of fuck all. I'm just going to put Python cheese and see what happens. There we go. You can tell it's well structured again tonight. Oh, YouTube are absolutely fisting my bandwidth. Oh, hang on a minute. This video is going to make me go fucking mental, isn't it? Bowler hat man. The Green Party democracy in crisis. I'm going to actually scream. I'm going to fucking scream. I know it's not out yet. I know. And I can't wait. I need to have seen it already. I need to know what absolute fucking bollocks he's going to say.
Morning, sir. Morning. I was sitting in the public library in Sherman Street just now, skimming through Rogue Herries by Horace Walpole, when I suddenly came over all peckish.
Peckish, eh?
Esurient.
Eh?
Yeah, we're all hungry like.
Ah, hungry.
In a nutshell, so I thought to myself, a little fermented curd will do the trick. So I curtailed my wall-polling activities, sallied forth and infiltrated your place of purveyance to negotiate the vending of some cheesy comestibles.
Come again?
I want to buy some cheese!
Ah, I thought you were complaining about the music.
Oh, heaven forbid, I'm one who delights in all manifestations of the Terpsichorean muse.
Sorry?
The Terpsichorean muse is a wild thing to write in a comedy sketch.
Like a nice dance, you're forced to.
Anyway, who said that?
Now, my good man, some cheese, please.
Yes, certainly, sir. What would you like?
Well, how about a little red Leicester?
I'm afraid we're fresh out of Red Leicester, sir.
Never mind. How are you on Tilsit?
Never at the end of the week, sir. Always get it fresh first thing on Monday.
Tish tish. No matter. Well, 4 ounces of Caerphilly then, if you please, stout yeoman.
Ah, well, it's been on order for 2 weeks, sir. I was expecting it this morning.
Yes, it's not my day, is it? Belpay, is it?
Sorry.
Red Windsor?
Normally, sir, yes. But today the van broke down.
Stilton?
Sorry.
Gruyere, Emmental?
No.
Any Norwegian Jarlsberger? Liptar?
No.
Lancashire?
No.
White Stilton?
No.
Danish Blue?
No.
Double Gloucester?
No.
Cheshire?
No.
Any Dorset Blue Vinny?
No.
Brie, Roquefort, Pont l'Evêque, Port Salut, Savoy, Saint-Paul, Carré de l'Est, Boursin, Brest Bleu, Perle de Champagne, Camembert.
Ah, we do have some camembert.
You
sir.
do. Excellent.
It's a bit runny, sir.
Oh, I like it runny.
Well, as a matter of fact, it's very runny, sir.
No matter, no matter. Hand over la fromage de la belle France qui s'appelle Camembert, s'il vous plaît.
I think it's runnier than you like it, sir.
I don't care how excrementally runny it is. Hand it over with all speed.
Yes, sir. Oh!
What?
The cat's eaten it.
Has he?
She, sir.
Edam?
No.
Caithness?
No.
Strict Austrian?
No.
Sage Derby?
No, sir.
You do have some cheese, do you?
Oh, certainly, sir. It's a cheese shop, sir. We've got...
No, don't tell me. I'm keen to guess.
Fair enough.
Wensleydale.
Yes, sir.
Splendid. Well, I'll have some of that then, please.
Oh, I'm sorry, sir. I thought you were referring to me. Mr. Wensleydale.
Gorgonzola?
No.
Parmesan? Mozzarella? Pippo creme? Any Danish Finbo?
No.
Czechoslovakian sheep's milk cheese?
No.
Venezuelan beaver cheese?
Yes, sir.
Well, let's keep it simple. How about cheddar?
Well, I'm afraid we don't get much call for it round these parts, sir.
It's the single most popular cheese in the world.
Not round these parts, sir.
And pray, what is the most popular cheese around these parts?
Ilchester, sir.
I see.
Yes, sir, it's quite staggeringly popular in the manor, Squire.
Is it?
Yes, sir, it's our #1 seller.
Is it?
Yes, sir.
Ilchester, eh?
Right.
Okay, I'm game. Have you got any? He asked, expecting the answer no.
I'll have a look, sir. No.
It's not much of a cheese shop, really, is it?
Finest in the district, sir.
And what leads you to that conclusion?
But it's so clean.
Well, it's certainly uncontaminated by cheese.
You haven't asked me about Limburger, sir.
Is it worth it?
Could be.
Okay. Have you got... Will you shut that bloody dancing up?
I told you so.
Have you got any Limburger?
No.
No, that figures. No, it's pretty predictable, really. It was an act of pure optimism to pose the question in the first place. Tell me something. Do you have any cheese at all?
Yes, sir.
Now, I'm going to ask you that question once more. And if you say no, I'm going to shoot you through the head. Now, do you have any cheese at all?
No.
What a senseless waste of human life.
It is a bit posh. It's definitely a bit footlights, yes. But I like it. It's fun. It's not making a particularly great point, but it's a bit of something. It breaks up the monotony of existence. Oh, okay. We've now got a fucking Wikipedia page for this fucking Bulgarian cheese. Okay. Kashkaval is a type of cheese made from the milk of cows, sheep, or... Hang on a minute. Whoa. What the fuck kind of bullshit is this now? You can't have a fucking cheese that could be either cows or sheep or goats or a mixture, because then it's different types of fucking cheese. Which is fine. You can create a billion different varieties of cheese. You just saw the fucking sketch where he named butter a tiny percentage of the overall numbers of different types of fucking cheeses, right? A cow milk is different than a sheep milk or a goat milk or a beaver milk or a lady titty milk. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, but apparently it's popular in Turkey, Albania, Bulgaria, Kosovo, North Macedonia, Romania and Serbia. Don't know what the fucking Croats are up to. Giving it the fucking miss. Fucking Northern Balkan pricks. Anyway, the incredibly well structured show I have is that I put out a call on the internets for suggestions, and 255 came up with, I mean, just look at the thumbnails. This is 3 fucking weird videos. Of course it is. It's 255. Naturally, right? So we've got, is eco-socialism right-wing? I can't wait for that. Then there's, oh, it's a Bad Mouse video. I have to tell you my interaction with him about a decade ago. And, oh God, Rod Fleming, the weird fucking transphobic chaser guy. Fucking Despunkify. We've got Despunkify has made an appearance again. Oh God. Oh no. I wonder what other crap he's going to come up with. Yeah. Fucking hell. I can't wait. Anyway. Yeah, in terms of the title of this, Kevstramdamus, did I not say, chat? Did I not say, but 2 days ago, as the world stood on the precipice of all-out fucking catastrophe in the Middle East, that Donald Trump's his deadline wasn't really a deadline, because he doesn't really do deadlines. He says he does deadlines and then never follows through with it. Obviously. So now, all he's done is spend tens of billions of dollars, killed loads of people, destroyed America's reputation around the world, led to both them and Israel being an absolute pariah, all so that they could open up partially the Straits of Hormuz that were previously completely open. masterful gambit. And of course, naturally, the Israelis aren't even playing ball with it because they're still bombing the fuck out of Lebanon, which is a direct contravention of the fucking thing. Because, of course, Israel has no interest in peace. They will never allow peace in that region. It does not suit their interests. Absolute fucking farce. But there you go. Anyway, I'm just going to play these 3 videos back to back to back. We're just going to watch and see. I have no idea if they're going to be of any interest or importance, but we're just going to go with it. Has Socialism Misunderstood Nature by Farming Explained? It's 40 minutes long. It's 40 fucking minutes long, 255. This better be good.
Today we are following on from the last video in which we discussed a book that was written in 1972 called A Blueprint for Survival, which argues that there's too many people and we need to fix that and return to a more natural, stable society. This is very right-wing. It builds on earlier tropes established by the fascist organic movement and the movement behind
the fascist organic movement. Okay. Israel is in peace. Arabs don't result in the peace of the Zionist entity. I don't know what that means. Israel is in peace. I'm not sure that's true, mate. I don't think that's real.
Blueprint for Survival eventually became the Green Party. And whenever I talk about anything like this, the comments are full of people saying, this isn't relevant anymore. So to...
Yeah, because it isn't. Just like, I mean, the fucking Volkswagen was created by the Nazis, but no one's like, if you drive a Volkswagen, that means you're a fascist. Like, things change and develop, for fuck's sake. Words change, political parties change, people's minds change, times change.
Try and preemptively deflect that, even though I was mostly talking about 1972. At the end of the last video, I showed a Green Party policy document from 2018 which talked about the carrying capacity of the land and the need to reduce the population to illustrate that some...
No, hang on, whoa. It doesn't say reduce the population. Also, carrying... Can we have a bit more volume? Apologies. Yeah, carrying capacity is a real thing. That's not like a strange or fascistic concept. There obviously is some number, what it is I don't know, that the Earth can hold in terms of human population. Now, that number will depend on how much consumption each of those people does, naturally, and the damage that's done to it prior to whatever change comes about. But the point is, at no point does it say that it reduce the population. It says to achieve consumption and population levels that are globally sustainable. So in theory, that could be more people, but just lower consumption. Or more efficient consumption. Because let's be honest, we waste a lot. I apologise if that was vague. It was meant to be a really bad joke about how Zionists consider peace only being a thing when... Oh, okay, yes, I'm with you. Apologies. Yeah. But yeah, it doesn't say reduce the population. So you've already lied. Well done.
Influence of these ideas remain. A lot of people have joined the Green Party recently because they like Zach Polanski's message of hope. They're socialists, they're social democrats, they want to build a better world and fight climate change. I also want those things. I am one of you. The point I...
You're a socialist? Or social democrat, are you? Are you sure about that? Are you sure? Because I'm getting the feeling that you're really not, though, friend, you know? Also, you're going to need to deal with this crack in the breeze block situation. That's not healthy. I'm not saying it's going to fall down anytime soon, but, like, a bit of weathering and some ice in the winter, and that could be real problems, you know?
I was trying to make is that within the Green Party and environmentalist spaces more generally, which are often seen as progressive and good and left-wing, there are people who call themselves dark greens. And those people desire a neo-Malthusian form of fascism.
The only dark greens I produce is the phlegm when I've got the flu. You know what I'm saying?
That is obsessed with population control and was never designed to fight climate change. And if you're a progressive who has just joined the Green Party, you need to be aware of that because you need to fight against those people and remove any influence that they might still have. And I'm really not just having a go at the Green Party here. All political parties have dodgy people in them. Blue Labour, for example, are a deeply concerning faction within the Labour Party, which we've discussed at length on this channel, if you want to check that out. Within the Lib Dems, you have the Orange Book, which is a set of ideas that was put out by the man who owns GB News. In attacking Blue Labour and the Dark Greens, I'm not attacking everyone in the Labour Party or everybody in the Green Party. And I emphasise I am far from the only person raising concerns about the Dark Greens. A group called Seeding Reparations puts out these pamphlets, which are very good. I got given this when I visited the radical left-wing festival The World Transformed, where we filmed some interesting interviews. So today I would like to continue this discussion about the influence of historic far-right environmentalism on environmental movements today that present often as left-wing. Do materially right-wing, reactionary, ultra-conservative forces sometimes sneak into left-wing spaces because they're anti-capitalist, pro-nature, and in service of some greater good?
I'm not sure there are many very conservative people who are anti-capitalist, really.
And we're going to do this today, not through discussing the Green Party, but through these two documents that I picked up at The World Transformed. For the most part, we'll focus on Ecosocialism Not Extinction by Alan Todd, who is a member of Anti-Capitalist Resistance's Council and of Left Unity's National Council, and is an eco-socialist / environmental and anti-fascist activist. But first I wanted to talk about a line from the other book, Eco-Socialist Revolution, a Manifesto. Listen to this. A socialist plan for the countryside would see farming collectively run without the need for dangerous agricultural methods caused by profit-seeking. So left-wing politics, socialism, is going to see collective farms. This is what they did in the Soviet Union.
I knew he was going to do it. I knew it. God almighty. Oh, Holodomor, Holodomor, Holodomor. Okay.
And this will be done progressively and scientifically without the profit incentive, so there won't be any dangerous agricultural methods caused by...
Oh shit, I did, oh fuck's sake. The one time it was actually relevant to play the Soviet anthem and I didn't have my fucking thing plugged in. Bollocks and shit and cock and arse bollock. Wank!
Ignorance or greed. This is surely what they mean. But there's another way to read this. Farming, collectively run, in a stable way without the need for dangerous agricultural methods, and not in a time of capitalism, is feudalism, the open field system in which all the villagers were subsistence farmers.
Hang on. So the only way you can imagine doing anything... Firstly, it wouldn't be collective farming if it was fucking feudalism. And secondly, the only way you can imagine any farming being done other than via capitalism would be feudalism or Soviet agricultural collectives. Is there honestly no other option? Really? Fucking Christ almighty. This guy's on a different level of like propaganda and weirdness. Also, didn't you fucking say you were a socialist like a minute ago? And now you're like, oh, without the profit motive, nothing good can ever happen. which is literally sort of the opposite of socialism, isn't it? It's almost like you're full of shit, mate. It's almost like you're lying. Ooh, fancy that. Anyway, as I was saying,
nothing bad can happen. It can only good happen.
Farmers before the rise of capitalism and shared the land between them according to communitarian customs decided within the village itself. These are two very...
Hang on. Within the village itself, you think that under feudalism, the decisions on land were taken by the actual peasants, the serfs? Like, I don't even know where to begin with the nonsense of this. It wasn't even their fucking land. They literally didn't have... Like, they had virtually fuck all. What did lands have to do with it? True. Do you mean my podcast friend? Oh, podcast.
different things. Are we looking here at the Soviet model, or are we looking at feudalism? Unhelpfully, the manifesto claims that it doesn't mean either of these things. They say...
What do you mean unhelpfully? What the fuck do you mean? So literally you are suggesting that the only ways of farming ever could be serfdom, ultra-capitalism, or Soviet collectivization. That's literally it. That's the only way you think that farming can be done, even though it's been done in other ways. Many, many different types of ways. Fucking Christ almighty. Does Soylent Green count as farming? It's certainly food production. It's certainly food production. But I don't know if it's farming. Human farming, maybe? I don't know.
Ecosocialism marks a clear differentiation from the old productivist forms of some left-wing movements in which industrial capacity was prioritised without proper consideration of planetary limits.
Yeah. So that's good, isn't it? Realising that you can't just have, like, infinite industrial growth. That doesn't make any fucking sense. Soylent Green is ranching. Well, that's pastoral farming then, yeah. But make sure you have your humans free range and corn fed. Okay?
Little sprinkling of Malthus there. This is something the other book...
No, not a sprinkling of Malthus! Stop fucking lying! Oh god, this guy's amazing. Saying there are limits, that we live on a finite planet with a finite amount of space and finite resources is not fucking Malthusian. It's reality. Like, do you think we can have exponential growth forever? Are you still pitting YouTube chat against Twitch chat, and if so, who's your current favourite? Well, as neither side has given me any money so far, neither of you are my favourite. That's how it works. The pay pigs have not oinked. I'm just saying, you know. If you want to oink, you can do something. For your bits and subs and subscriptions and super chats and all of that shite. Yeah. Thank you for the one oink bitty. Much love. What have I done there? Fuck, that's not what I meant to do at all.
We're discussing today repeats right at the start. The central premise of eco-socialism, already suggested by the term itself, is that non-ecological socialism is a dead end, and a non-socialist ecology cannot confront the present ecological crisis.
Okay.
At face value, I would consider myself an eco-socialist.
No, you fucking wouldn't. You literally were just saying That you think that farming can only be done for a profit. You are not a socialist. At all. Stop fucking lying. Look, that's just a lie. Like, I've no doubt that in this person's heart, like, they're more progressive than they are coming across right now. But economically speaking, they're not a socialist. They're just not.
Or at least a socialist who is environmentally minded. But I mean socialism in the 20th century sense, the Attlee government and the 1947
So you're a social democrat, which is fine. Nothing wrong with that, but, you know.
Agriculture Act. But these are things that the eco-socialists seem to have diverged from altogether. I think this is quite bizarre, as ever since Britain was thrust into the modern era as the open fields were enclosed into farms, political progressivism has been tied to agricultural productivism and industrial productivism, which is why the Liberals campaigned against the Corn Laws. In the 18th century, the progressive, improving landlords of the agricultural revolution, Cook of Norfolk, Turnip Townshend, are remembered for facilitating productive, scientific agriculture, but they were also Whig politicians in Parliament.
Okay. I'm sorry that it's not as the politics of the 18th century or 19th century aren't around anymore for you. I don't know what else to tell you, mate. Like, it's that era of history is gone. It's over. Come to fucking peace with it. Anyway, thank you to Wobbly Geek 89 for resubscribing with Prime. Much love to you. Thank you to oh, hang on, I haven't got the fucking alert box on. That would help, wouldn't it? Thank you to Mad Cat Scotty Eye for gifting a sub in chat there. Everyone go and follow Mad Cat, by the way, who is fucking dope. And thank you, Wayward Historian, with 1312 randomly numbered bitties. Oh, hang on. Fuck the police. How do you fuck up pressing one button? How do you do that, Kev? I don't know. Anyway. Thank you, Journey Jordan, who says, imaginary 15 gig, is that gigabytes? What? GB, oh, Great British Pound donation. Don't worry about it. Oh, no, no, I'll send you the thing, yeah. Thank you, mate. Thank you, Journey Jordan.
Then you have Lloyd George, who with liberalism taxed the aristocracy to get more worker-owned farms.
I don't know if I've ever told the story about my father nearly getting killed by some Welshmen over Lloyd George. He's not so old that he was around at the time, you understand. For those who don't know, David Lloyd George was British Prime Minister during the First World War and was the only British Prime Minister for whom English was not their first language. He spoke Welsh as his first language. But obviously spoke English very well as well. Anyway, and so was something of a hero for the people of Wales, to some extent anyway. Anyway, my father, being a sarcastic Irishman or whatever, anyway, he was doing some union teaching in either Port Talbot or Port Maddock, and I can't remember which one, but one of them, anyway. And he said, what was it? He said, Lloyd George, mate, honestly, he was quite drunk at this time with some of the kind of, I say students, they were like middle-aged men, really, you know, but union students. And he was saying, what was he? Lloyd George created more Welsh prostitutes than anyone in history. He said, he sent your granddads off to be killed in Flanders, and then your grandma had to go on the street corner. He nearly got fucking lynched that night. He wasn't fucking wrong though, was he? Come on now. There were plenty out there having to hooer to make ends meet. I don't knock it, I'm just saying. But maybe don't point it out to a room full of drunk Welshmen, is all I'm saying, you know? Anyway. But apparently, he also drove land reform, so that's fine or something. Who fucking cares? Anyway. Thank you to what happened. Something happened on YouTube, didn't it? Kieran Kinsella for gifting a sub. Much love to you. And thank you, Antifa Vegan Boy, with 10 gifted memberships. Honestly, you're also deliciously generous. I might not send the army of rats after you. After all, I don't know. We'll wait and see how it goes. Thank you, Over the Storm, with 100 bitty bits. We're on level 2 of the hype train. Who shall I finger? Oh, well, you know what it has to be. Because we missed the anniversary yesterday, I'm going to have to go in for a third helping of Margaret Thatch, I think. Old fucking Maggie. She's very much still dead. Can we get some lols in chat? And I'm going to have to finger her corpse again. It's just going to have to happen. You paid for it, so it's happening. Okay? Why not Lloyd George? Well, he wasn't really a fascist. He was a cunt, but I don't think you can really say he was a fascist. Finger Margaret Snatch. Well, I think the better joke there about Margaret Thatch, because that suggests a kind of pubic situation. How do you reckon she kept her bush? Not relevant to anything. I just want to put people off their dinner if they're eating or something. What do you think to Margaret Thatcher's minge topiary? Like, what do you reckon she did downstairs? I imagine prim and proper. I don't think she let it grow out. I think she was too formal. I don't think she let it go like a fucking grizzly bear. Channeling is in a Jordan. But I have dreamt about combing Margaret Thatcher's pubes. I'll just put it out there now. A Hitler stash. Oh no. You don't want Margaret Brazilian. Absolutely not. Presumably she let the free market decide, because it's the only thing that can ever decide anything, I imagine. You know. Anyway. Although it was the 80s, so we're probably talking Buffon. That's what I'm thinking.
Spent his later life imploring agricultural productivism and running a farm at Churt in Surrey, where he used a massive machine called a gyrotiller to cultivate old pastures. There's some cool footage of this that I can't afford to license. Then, after Whiggism and liberalism, you get socialism. And the Attlee government doubles down on Lloyd George's view and encourages worker ownership of the means of production, owner-occupied farms, being farmed on scientific principles without paternalism, while the government supported this work to make healthy food affordable to workers in the cities. As such, the countryside as we know it today owes a great deal to progressive politics throughout the ages. And I don't think the fundamentals of this ever really change. We still need food, we still have a massive population and not very much land, and people in cities need to be able to feed their children healthy stuff at an affordable price. The only thing that's different today is the problem of climate change, but I think that marries quite neatly into traditional agrarian socialism because scientific productive farming is efficient and therefore you have less emissions per unit produced. We can get into that another day, but that's my position. But because the eco-socialists reject this great arc of progressivism, it makes me think perhaps they quite simply believe in the other side of the coin. They align with the other arc that goes from Malthus to traditional Toryism in the 18th century, then the neo-feudal organic movement, and through to a blueprint for survival. This arc...
What are you honestly, do you do anything but false dichotomies, mate? Or false trichotomies in some cases. Just completely false analogies. Wow. Unless you agree with David Lloyd George's land reforms, then you must be a Malthusian fucking, you want to kill people for being useless eaters. Fucking eugenicist. What are you talking about? This is fucking nonsense. Oh, 255, why do you hate me? Why do you send me these things? Oh yeah, because I enjoy them. Yeah, that's fair. That is fair, yeah.
Is more about sustainability, reduced population size, respecting rather than controlling nature. And these people, historically, have believed that the modern world is fundamentally unsustainable, and a lot of people are going to die unless we end modernity and return to something that looks much...
No. See, you were almost about to make a point. And then...
Right-wing bollocks!
Modern world is unsustainable. It doesn't mean getting rid of modernity. It means using our resources efficiently. It means distributing food and resources and energy more equally. It doesn't mean returning to living in a fucking cave, doing hunter-gatherer shit. What are you talking about? Like, there are ways we can feed all of the people of the earth. We know this. It's just it's not profitable to do it, so we let millions of people starve to death. It's fucking grotesque. But apparently that is the system that you support, because even though you claim to be a socialist, apparently you think that farming done for profit is the only way it can ever be done, without it becoming Malthusian or feudalist or whatever. Fucking Christ almighty.
Much more like feudalism. But if we're to accept that narrative, these ideas can be presented as in the interests of the masses. It's for the people, and therefore, in a very crude sense, could be presented as left-wing. Lord Limington, the main intellectual and financial backer of the organic movement, did indeed present his life's work as a long battle to preserve the best of old rural ways, of pride in work and scamp, of craftsmanship, and above all, a better life for the men who pursued their rural callings in smithy and carpenter shop. He thinks his brand of fascism...
Whoa. Have you provided any evidence that this person... Because I don't know who this is. Have you provided any evidence that he's a fascist? His brand of fascism. Because, like, this is just like some... Oh, rural life is important. I mean, okay, cool. What? I don't see anything in this sentence that's fascist. And if he was a fascist, you'd probably put something up that showed he was a fascist, right? That's what I'd do, to try and make a point, rather than just rambling.
Is intended, first and foremost, to serve the workers. Personally, he referred to this politics as true Toryism, meaning Toryism in the 18th century sense, essentially feudalism.
No, you little cunt. No. There was no fucking feudalism in the 18th century in Britain. There was very little feudalism anywhere in Europe. You could argue in some parts of fucking rural Russia and stuff that there was still a kind of serfdom. But there's absolutely no way in which you could say that the Toryism... Look, as if you've got me defending 18th century Tories, for fuck's sake. They're not fucking feudalists. They're fucking mercantilist capitalists.
Tory, the producers, the soldier, the sailor, and the servant of the nation in far and difficult dependencies are the persons who matter. He says this is the same objective as socialism. But this, says the socialist, might be part of the socialist ideal. True enough. Of course, Limington believes socialism cannot work. But the socialist aim is muddled by wanting opposites, equality, fraternity and liberty, while their methods lead to a different end. It means the palliation of the evils of liberalism by bureaucracy. The socialists keep the capitalist productivism, but try to operate it for the benefit of the workers. There's a longer discussion of the book.
Oh no, trying to run things for the benefit of people rather than, you know, lords and landlords. How evil.
we're quoting from here in the video about Labour's Maurice Glasman, who I think has equally conflated socialism and fascism to such a point that his allies in the government are now cosplaying Nazis. This is a photo of our Home Secretary published by the...
To be fair, yeah, that she is cosplaying as a Nazi, yeah. I'm not going to disagree with him on that.
The Guardian. Where does one even get a coat like that?
A very specific kind of Central European Army and Navy store, to put it delicately. Cultural appropriate, exactly. Vogel's culture is not your fucking costume, Shabana.
Eco-socialists seem to make a similar argument to Leamington, rejecting capitalism very aggressively. It is clear that the drive for profit is destructive to us as humans, reducing us to units of production in the interests of our economic masters. And they think traditional socialism doesn't really fix this. They say stuff like, to be against productivist socialism means to challenge the idea that we take the economic production and distribution that capitalism has created and simply run it under workers' control. The massively productive capacities of capital, all the factories, workshops, tools, supply chain, complex planning arrangements, etc., are geared towards only one thing: profit. It will not be sustainable to simply lay hold of the ready-made economic machinery and use it for socialism.
Yeah, there's a certain truth to that. You do have to change things fundamentally, systemically. Like, you can still use the same workplaces, the same, buildings and stuff, but the way in which you go about production has to change. Yeah, 100%. He had 10,000 acres of stolen land in Kenya, and it got nationalised when Kenya became independent. Nice. Can we get some W's in chat for Kenya? Taking land off pricks. Gotta love it. What's this? Gerard Wallop, 9th Earl of Portsmouth, was a British landowner, writer and agricultural topics. Well, this isn't the same guy he was talking about, is it? Oh yeah, no it is. Yeah, Lord Leamington. Oh, okay, so he became Lord Leamington. Right, I'm with you. Okay. Basingstoke constituency, 1930, Conservative, something. He was in the British Army during the First World War, as you do. At this point, he was in the India Defence League, an imperialist group of conservatives around Winston Churchill. Oh, okay, so he was a bit fash then. Because people forget that before the war, Churchill was a bit shit. Let's put it that way. He was certainly very fond of Mussolini taking over in Italy. Came to regret that, of course, but there we go. What's this? Oof. Okay, he was a fascist. Leamington was violently opposed to Britain accepting Jewish refugees from Germany, writing a letter in 1936 that he was opposed to accepting German Jewish refugees who, quote, had proved themselves unworthy subjects of Germany. Going on to write that Britain was being overrun with the unwashed and unworthy of the ghettos and bazaars of most of Europe and a great deal of Asia. Can we get some lols in chat for this cunt being dead? Because he seemed like a bit of a wrong-un, to be honest. When did he die? 1984. The year that was invented by George Orwell. Anyway.
So if we return to the original quotation, we could presume this does mean feudalism, and they are following in Lord Leamington's footsteps in promoting...
No, how the fuck can you... I don't know what else to say. It doesn't mean that. I don't know how you can possibly take that from that sentence.
...promoting a literally regressive view, degrowth, return to a peasant-style open-field system. But because they think this would be a good thing, they're presenting it as left-wing. But they deny this too. But we also reject primitivist proposals. We cannot build a sustainable future for humanity through a retreat to nature or requiring everyone to become subsistence farmers. What do they want then?
Well, I don't know. Ask them instead of like saying that they support a thing that you then read the sentence reveals that it wasn't that. I prefer his follow-up book, 1948, released in 1984. True. From Beyond the Grave. What do you know about Babcock, and how can we boycott this company? What the fuck is Babcock? What's up, dog?
Eco-socialism is apparently not traditional political progressivism, but it's also not the other side of the coin. When I purchased these pamphlets, I sat outside the little book fair thing where I'd got them and read them quickly before going back in and asking the 18-year-old who sold me them what it meant. And not to put too much weight on a casual conversation, of course, but I went back in and said, it's very interesting, I like some of the ideas, but it seems a little bit like feudalism to me. What's the difference between an eco-socialist utopia and feudalism? To which he said, in the eco-socialist view, you don't have an aristocrat. But for the purposes of this video, it doesn't really matter what eco-socialism means. The point I want to make is that it presents...
It doesn't even matter what it means. I'm just going to make it up anyway. Why ask them? Why engage in the conversation if you're just going to make up some random shite anyway?
This is left-wing, and I feel that it has been influenced by some neo-Malthusian schools of thought. And this is seen in how the writers choose which issues to talk about and the language and tone adopted in their discussion of those issues. Let's start at the beginning with the title. Alternative to Death was written by Lord Limington in 1943. It argued we had to return to a more natural society with less people in it, else we would all die. Then in 1972 you get Blueprint for Survival. It argued that we had to return to a more natural society with less people in it, otherwise we would all die. Now we have eco-socialism, not extinction. Rhetorically, these are very similar. You must do what we want, else you will die. Maybe this is being a bit pernickety, but I do think it's important. If I was to write a socialist manifesto, it would be progressive and forward-thinking and appealing. It would be saying, come with us, and together we will build a better world. You shouldn't have to invoke the fear of death to make the working class agree with you. The fact that this is being done, even before you open the book, suggests to me that there is some link with these earlier movements.
Okay, I'm done with this guy. He's very, very boring. Because it's the same point. Don't actually engage with the content whatsoever, just make up any old shit. So there's no point. There's no point. Okay, Bad Mouse Productions. Let's have a look.
Were so...
Ooh. Right. Why I left anarchism and then came back. Now, I should explain, I do have a little, a very brief history with Bad Mouse from a long time ago now. We had a bit of a falling out. I can't even remember over what, it was like 10 years ago now. And I did try and contact them privately to like apologise for my actions. But they didn't get back to me, so I just, you know, whatever. You move on. Well, clearly they did become a tanky and then apparently untankied themselves. So we'll give it a watch and see what the fuck this is about.
A lot of you guys are not going to want to hear this, but I stopped being an anarchist after high school. Because the more research I did, the more I realized that the people I called tankies had been historically right about, like, everything. I just hadn't done enough research yet to know it. This is a quote from communist business lady Madeline Pendleton, but that's not particularly important, as I'm sure you've come across some variation of this text in your lifetime. The usual spiel about how anarchism is too childish and that you'll eventually move on and develop more materialist and dialectically sound ways of thinking. Even I, during my quite rocky political journey, went through this trend from a naive anarchist into a budding Marxist-Leninist. But, oddly enough, I would eventually come round full circle. Which might appear quite unusual, but the experience has, I would like to hope, given me a good insight into why this phenomena occurs. And so perhaps you'll allow me to voice some of my own reflections on the matter. From when I was a little boy, the perception that I had with regards to socialism or communism came from just one reference point: Joseph Stalin.
It's a lovely moustache, though. You gotta give him that. It's rare you've got to hand it to Stalin, but in terms of his upper lip foliage management, top tier.
Made about the faults of the system, they could easily be passed off with the simple uttering of that 6-letter word. But after the good times have gone and capital rears its ugly head, we find ourselves unable to just sit idly by and feel compelled to solve our political economic situation. In doing so, anarchism might be that very solution which you stumble upon. This is not an ideology of adherence to great men, but one of liberation and reciprocity. One whose very basis is within the denial of anything that could have created the clear and obvious problems of the past. It can come across as pretty inspiring. It is inevitable, however, that once you become more accustomed to the left, you may well discover that many of the things you thought about Stalin and the USSR weren't entirely accurate. It's not necessarily a glowing review, but it does allow for you to better contextualize these situations, which is often further intensified with the long legacies of previous governments and their footprints across the world. This feeling of overwhelming and crippling doubt might make us question our original choices. Perhaps we...
You gotta say the production values are exceptional.
We got it wrong the whole time. Perhaps all the great ideas we had were just too immaterial, too idyllic, and undialectical dreams. Perhaps, as flawed as it was, this really was the way after all. It's a sad shame that even though Stalin's ghost looms large, the dominant legacy of the left has still very much been from his hand, be that the most ardent Marxist-Leninist or your run-of-the-mill union.
What a phrase that is. I love my country being on the red stain on the map that the Soviet Union jizzed on. Oh, that is a ripe statement.
Worker. This was not the case 100 years or so ago, when the left was a lot less rigid and canonical than it has manifested as today. And during this period, anarchism and its character...
Honestly, we need to bring back amazing facial hair. Look at the array of awesome moustache. This one, Ravachol, you can't even see his fucking face, but you can see his amazing moustache. Look at it. It's literally outside of his face. Oh, it's glorious.
Characteristically variegated forms was the dominant element in the self-conscious...
By the way, Ravachol was, I suppose what we would call in modern day parlance, a terrorist, really? But, you know, we don't need to go into it.
The internationalist radical left.
Leon Chalgos literally killed an American president. Okay. This will be interesting, folks, in this rundown.
That light has sadly been swept asunder. Since then, that still lingering socialist lost cause, I would argue, is one of, if not the biggest reason for what causes such an exodus of initial anarchists folding into the vanguardist path. But as you can see, that's also a highly flawed one for entry. People are becoming anarchists not because they read great things or sought great solutions as they may have done at the turn of the 20th century. They did not kill...
Exactly. The woke killed the mustache. And it is only by killing the woke that we shall bring its gloriousness into the 21st century. Praise be to Allah.
The cop in their head, but rather they became such due to the opposition towards something else. That doesn't normally create the firmest foundation. It should, of course, go without saying that the spread of an ideology across the world is not in...
Did he have... He could... No, he surely didn't have Ganfrio Princip in there, right? Hang on.
...rigid and canonical.
Hang on a minute. Because he was a fucking nationalist, wasn't he? I don't see Princip in there, hang on. It was Nestor Makhno.
A self-consciously internationalist radical left.
No, I don't think so, no.
This lost cause, I would argue, is wading into the entry. People are becoming anarchists not because they read great things or sought great solutions as they may have done at the turn of the 20th century. They did not kill the cop in their head, but rather they became such due to the opposition towards something else. That doesn't normally create the firmest foundation.
They got the year wrong by 4. What are you talking about? What? They got the year wrong by 4 on your pick. I don't know. For some reason, Lloyd George picture on Wikipedia has this title in German. What's that? Führer der britischen Delegation. Oh, okay. Well, yeah. He was the leader of the British delegation. Presumably, they're referring to the peace talks in Paris that ended up in the Versailles Treaty. Is what I would think. Yes. Because Führer just means leader. So, yeah. Go back about... No, I'm not going back 25 seconds. Fucking explain yourself. We're all going to sit here and wait. Okay? You're holding up everyone else's fun, and I'm sure everyone's having a lot of fun. But you were going to explain what the fuck you meant. Or, you know what? I'm turning this car around and we're going home. Does that make Kevin Logan our Führer? Yes, it does. Ein Volk, ein Chat, ein Logan. Okay? Can we at least get a milkshake on the way? No, we've got milkshake at home. Titty milkshake.
It should, of course, go without saying that the spread of an ideology across the world is not indicative to a tendency's correctness, and upholding the state with their classes are not going to create the conditions for...
Oh, that was an amazing... Oh my god. Thank you, Storica. That was an amazing kappa that just happened. Because it followed one of the lines on the map, and I thought, did he put a kappa in the fucking video? But he didn't. It was on the screen. It was on my screen. But it literally followed one of the lines. Someone clip that, and we'll go back and watch it, because it freaked me the fuck out. I was like, what? Communist kappa? Huh?
For a stateless, classless society. Furthermore, this whole thing screams as quite an overreaction to something that may well just need a bit of recontextualization and discussion. If only things were so simple. The Stalin effect indeed stands as a popular route towards anarchism, and a popular reason to leave it, which might bring into question whether their basis for such adherence was a little less than desire, and what in particular might that basis be. When anarchism was gaining popularity on here around the time I was starting out, there were certain trends and mindsets which dominated discussion that in hindsight now come across as fairly flawed and detrimental. I don't want to put too much blame on anyone in particular. We were all to some extent learning on the job. But if there is one individual who can certainly be seen as the prime originator of this confusion, I can think of none other than baby's first anarchist, Leon Trotsky. I mean,
what?
No, Chomsky. Sorry,
Oh.
their names have a similar ring.
Okay, that freaked me out as well. I got taken out. I was like, if this fucker argues that fucking Leon Trotsky was an anarchist, I'm going to freak out. But no, instead he's got fucking Epstein's best mate on the screen instead, which is awesome. I'm really glad that's happened.
Chomsky is known for popularizing the highly suspect definition of anarchism as the rejection of unjustified hierarchy. Now, this might...
He literally did kill anarchists, yeah. Trotsky's a fucking minge, by the way. We don't talk about this enough, but Trotsky was a fucking arsehole. Like, he's been given a pass in the West because he was anti-Stalin and got ice-picked and all that shit. But he, like, had he had the reins of power, it wouldn't have been any better. Look at his running of the Red Army. He was a fucking monster.
Might surprise you, but whilst we see this phrase often attributed to Noam, I've been unable to find a definitive source for where this statement originates. It's likely that this has simply been the result of whispering down the lane from the actual quote by the man. In this statement, Chomsky refers to legitimate power. From a linguistic point of view, this statement carries quite a different terminology from the previous one. Power is not simply a synonym for hierarchy, but can be used...
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, right, I've always had a bit of an issue with that definition anyway, because when you say unjustified hierarchy or unjustifiable hierarchy, what does that mean? Because justification works on the basis of an individual's analysis or a group's analysis, and that can change, right? So, in theory, anyone can justify any hierarchy on some weird basis, like God said so. Or some shit like that, you know? Like, it might not be justified to everybody else, but it's justified to them. Anyway, it's a lot of bollocks, but, you know. It's not a good definition of anarchism or of anything, really.
To describe
too open-ended.
Various different dynamics, like class power. Ultimately, though, it's clear that for whatever reason, the former interpretation won out and became the highly revered definition in public consciousness.
Stalin or Trotsky, which one would have been better? I mean, I genuinely don't know. Like, it's sort of unfair to even think of that question because we already know what Stalin did do, and whereas we don't have any real idea what Trotsky would have done, how that would have worked out at all. So it's sort of impossible to know, really. It's like, well, who would have been better? The serial killer who actually killed loads of people, or the guy who, like, would have otherwise killed loads of people? Well, I mean, you have to say the guy who did kill the people, but that doesn't mean in some hypothetical universe there isn't, you know, a Trotskyist takeover and all, you know, all that bollocks. But, you know, Kronstadt was Trotsky's darkest motive. Certainly one of them, yeah. If you look at the crushing of the naval revolt at Kronstadt, it's pretty bad.
Consciousness. Long-time listeners to this channel will remember that I myself used it in my very reductified History of Anarchism video from 10 years ago, which is in dire need of a remake. And even some of my wiser, more experienced friends have been using it too, which is a shame because as time has gone on, more people are understanding that this populist definition is far from desired. Firstly, and what should be pretty obvious, is that anybody can justify a hierarchy.
So, well, clearly, Badmouse pre-watched this stream, then. Pre-watched this stream, and that's why we said the same thing there. Or it's just a really obvious criticism, I guess. I don't know.
It's all based on the grounds of perceived legitimacy. In our current world, state law enforcement is considered by the majority of people to be a justified hierarchy. People may not like it when police overstep their boundaries, but by and large, mainstream consciousness accepts the position of such actors as a thin blue line between civilization and chaos. Indeed, the whole premise of...
No, to be fair, his voice was always this smug.
Legitimacy can often be an arbitrary one. Kings and emperors throughout time have deposed their predecessors simply under the basis of perceived righteousness in the hands of the ones with the guns and/or steel. A common thought to rationalize the idea put forth by Chomsky himself is the scenario of a parent pulling a child away from a speeding vehicle. In that example, this hierarchy might be considered justified in order to prevent a worse outcome emerging.
See, this is where it gets into the weeds. Like, don't get me wrong, having a philosophical discussion is fine, but if you're going to talk about politics, the idea that there is even really any kind of critique of a hierarchy to even mention something like this is just silly. This isn't like, no one's subordinated in this situation. A child is unable to look after themselves. Adults have to do so on their behalf. It's not subjugation. It's fucking taking care. It's basic human familial structure. That's just how it works.
This relationship can hardly be considered on the same level as a statesman ordering decrees, or an abusive partner insisting on their way or the highway. By doing this, we're only narrowing the ways in which we can make sense of these very human dynamics. Rather, I'd argue that this example far closer resembles that of a support assistant, helping somebody to perform their tasks. You'd have to be in a very strange world to ever consider this relationship an act of subordination. It is an act of care.
Yeah, exactly.
The words Chomsky is referring to are echoed by Mikhail Bakunin in his work, What?
Who is just the most delightful tramp. Look at him. Absolute fucking king shit. It's not me. It's a white guy with fucking scraggly beard. It's not me. Firstly, he's fucking dead, and I'm just old.
His authority, in which he points to the authority of a cobbler or a doctor as a justified hierarchy. But what Bakunin calls authority here could just as easily be understood as skill expertise. We simply put our faith in them as they are more knowledgeable of certain skills and professions of which we lack. Nobody is taking our autonomy away. Bakunin was a man of his time. We shouldn't just accept...
Oh, look at this. Is that the most weathered face that's ever existed? Look at the beard. Does he have a mouth? Or is the bottom half of his face just hair? And you know what's underneath that beard? It's another fucking beard.
Accept the words of a 150-year-old text as our year zero, which cannot be improved upon. Oh, sorry. It might have been understandable at that point, but it's clear that since then such an understanding of authority comes across as a fair bit crude. What is authority is merely a preamble to God and the state, which itself was unfinished due to his passing. I'd also like to highlight that Mikhail's first language was Russian and God and the State was published in French. The nuance of his writing may well have gotten lost in translation. Anarchism is not against some hierarchies, it's against all forms of authority and oppression. And by...
But this is the problem. There is authority in a number of ways that is expedient and worthwhile. Like, it's... I think Bakunin's examples there of like a doctor or whatever is an example of an authority. Again, you might not be being subjugated or whatever. Your autonomy isn't being stripped from you. But a doctor telling you this is what you have to do to be healthy, this is the medical procedure we're going to have to do, you still have to take on bread, because how the fuck can you possibly know otherwise? Whether you think that's a justified hierarchy, I don't really care. The idea that you're against all authority is just a bit fucking silly, I think. I have a lot of time for anarchists and anarchism. I think it has some genuinely worthwhile critiques of the world in which we live and the way it's structured. And then it loses me. It's 90% absolutely brilliant shit, and then 10% just navel-gazing rubbish. It's a shame.
Making such concessions, it simply allows the playing field to be opened up to any kind of special pleading instead of encouraging one to think critically about the situation. Chomsky's own history being a running dog for the Democratic Party makes it all seem...
255, what is it, you silly sausage? I'm curious, how do you think... Hang on. Oh, that's not even 255, but I'll answer this one as well. Oh, for fuck's sake, stop doing that. How do you think the world would be different if Alexei Borisov wasn't successful in stopping the black shirts from taking Moscow in 1918? I mean, again, that's impossible in a sense, because that would have been essentially the end of the Soviet Union, right? Which then affects every single thing that happens in the entirety of the world from that point, really. Think of the things that then don't happen immediately after that. You know, you don't have the Sovietization of that economy. You don't have the building up of the resources for that. The Red Scare doesn't happen because the red thing doesn't exist. And then after that, it becomes so diffuse that it's impossible to say. But basically, the world would be very, very fucking different, is the point, I suppose. 255. I don't identify as an anarchist because I can think of a lot of situations in where having a hierarchy would be expedient, and I don't think you should just dogmatically resist doing so. What does that make sense? It does. It makes absolute sense, yeah. Yeah. Having a hard and fast rule for a very complicated world is... It's a bit dogmatic, I suppose. I don't know. It's not very real. No, the navel gazing comes with, like, I mean, maybe it's just an artifice of, or an artifact of a online discourse, maybe. I'm sure in academia it's probably perfectly reasonable, but online you get every now and then anarchists will pop up with some weird shit about, like, restaurants won't exist or whatever, you know. And by the way, I understand the critique of the way in which restaurants currently work in a capitalist setting. I'm not arguing that, but, like, I don't want to be like just optics. But you've got to realise how that looks to, like, regular fucking people when you're having these weird, like, esoteric discussions about some weird nuanced shit. Like, is a doctor having control over X, Y, and Z thing? Is that technically, like, is that a form of a thing or whatever? And it's just. It's so, like, raking over the minutiae of shit when literally, like, anarchism doesn't even have a foothold in most places, even in academia. It's borderline irrelevant, and yet will tie itself in knots over whether fucking restaurants will happen or whether, what was the other one? What was the other thing that happened? It was oh, fuck's sake. Hang on a minute. Let me think of the phrase, because there was an exact phrase that popped up and it just made me chuckle. Sexual mutual aid. That was the one. The idea that in a capitalist system you wouldn't have, in a non-capitalist system you wouldn't have, like, prostitution as such, but you would have people doing sexual mutual aid or something. And I was like, okay. Do you mean people fucking? Is that you know what? That's people shagging, isn't it? That's throwing a bone to someone you don't fancy, you know? Like, what? Mercy fucks, like, yeah, like, it's just weird, man. Oh, where are you finding this on the internet? It's on the fucking dumbass internet, man. There is every kind of person that you could possibly think exists, and more that you didn't know possibly existed. Honestly, the kind of people I've fucking discovered on the line. I mean, my favourite is, it's going to do with anarchism, of course, but my favourite conspiracy theory ever was the no-planers, who are a real thing that exist in whatever number. They're people who are not just 9/11 truthers, but they don't believe that any planes went into any buildings that day. and that there was a death laser from space that blew up the buildings, and the planes you think you saw were holograms that was advanced technology being tested by the CIA or something. And yeah, it blew my fucking mind. And like they'll bring up like these pictures of like girders at the 9/11 Ground Zero, and they've been like sliced like in half as if by like a blowtorch or something. Like, it's incredible. You're like, what the fuck? What's happening there? And then obviously the explanation is, if you look just below it, there's a small chalk mark, and that this is the salvage job. So the twisted metal was already there. Someone came along and marked it with chalk so that someone with an angle grinder later would come along and chop the pieces up into small enough fucking chunks that they could fit it on the back of a lorry and carry it away. It wasn't done by a fucking space laser. It was done very much by a person on Earth. Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Anyway, but those people exist, you know? So the idea of sexual mutual aid or fucking, I don't know, fucking haram restaurants or whatever, is, yeah, shouldn't be surprising, I suppose.
Seem a lot clearer.
Yeah, flat earthers. Flat earthers are very much a thing.
Now.
All over the globe.
And, other things. Some still may argue that such a definition can be used to intrigue people still stuck in modernity, and that afterwards they can get the full picture. If the strategy of this has so far been anything to go with, it's clear that this is not the case. You're bringing people in with a false interpretation of something only for them to find out, oh no, it's not exactly what they thought or desired. You need not be surprised when people leave. Oh, and by the way, Chomsky has never considered himself an anarchist. At best, he is to find himself as a fellow traveler. He should never have been considered such an authority on anarchism.
And he's a nonce. There is the noncy thing as well, you know.
When I stopped calling myself an anarchist, people would say, you never were a real anarchist. Likewise, when I stopped adhering to Marxist-Leninist principles, people would tell me that you never were a real ML. Everybody, it seems, has their own excuses. Before I even came to the left, I dabbled in libertarian capitalist thought, to which after saying my farewells, I was greeted with, you never were a real ANCAP. And all the way back when I...
To be fair, I don't think you were an ANCAP, because you never nonced up anyone, so, you know.
It threw away the holy orders.
Sorry, it's not pedophilia, it's a febophilia, actually, so...
Street preachers would claim that I had never really been a true believer. As it stands, I'm coming at this now from an anarchist perspective, so I guess I really was an anarchist the whole time, right? Or perhaps there is no fixed strata for how we come to believe something. Within any ideology, there is wiggle room and complexities to how people understand it. We are unknowingly admitting to this.
Oh yeah, no, this guy really has moved around from fucking ideologies. I first became aware of him when he was an ANCAP. And he was like a really shit ANCAP. Not like, when I say shit ANCAP, I mean he was a better person than any ANCAP was, which is why I was not surprised when he didn't become an ANCAP for very long. Or wasn't an ANCAP for that long. And eventually he became like a kind of a libertarian socialist or whatever, and then like an anarchist, and then he was a fucking Marxist-Leninist, and then I think he might have been a Maoist or something at some point, and now he's back to being an anarchist. And all I'll say is, like, I appreciate the honesty. I appreciate the honesty of a person who is changing their positions, and doing so like openly online for everyone to see and for everyone to remember all of the different fucking changes and stuff, but doing so with an openness and an honesty and an intellectual inquiry that I really appreciate. I think that's a worthwhile thing to do. It's rare that you get the kind of honesty of that. And yeah, it is all over the shop, but to be fair, he's a reasonably young man. And when he started, he was a very young man, really. I think he was only about 17 or something when he first started doing his ANCAP videos. Yeah. But, you know, he's gone through changes and he's been open about that, and that's cool. My cats are meowists. I see what you've done there. Although, of course, all cats are actually ANCAPs. It's literally true. They are convinced of their own independence and that they don't need anybody when they are absolutely and completely reliant on a huge society that's far beyond their comprehension.
When we say things to the effect of not every person in my tendency agrees with everything, when we claim that there is such constant debate. So-called anti-revisionist MLs and Maoists don't support China as a socialist project. And I'd wager good
because it isn't.
Money that if people from said group were eventually to depart or defect, such beliefs could be used as a showcase that they never understood the point either. And to be honest, I'm not necessarily going to disagree there. It's all up to interpretation. And if not believing in the most dogmatic, problematic, and frankly ridiculous...
Oh, I don't like the morphing of Envosio's face. It's just creepy.
...beliefs of any given
tendency
I don't like makes you
it.
not a true believer, then frankly, that's okay.
Ah, Galloway!
Hang on.
Throbbing.
The issue is the ideological rigidity of fitting people into who is and who isn't. Pablo Picasso was a communist, and for the last years of his life, a loyal card-carrying one. I'm sure that plenty of people might want to uphold him as a communist stamp in the same way that people might do with other supposed pinko celebrities like George Michael or Tupac Shakur. Yet his communism, as described by his dealer, also a socialist, was not a hard iron rod of loyalty, but rather a much more sentimental one. Whatever the veracity of his words, it's a rather good chance to ask some questions.
To be fair, I don't think... Hang on, we'll go back to that quote. For me, the Communist Party is the party of the poor. That's fine. Do you think most people get into communism because they've read every page of fucking Capital? No. Most people get into communism or socialism or fucking anarchism because of the concrete realities of their lived experience. They've seen the system in practice and they know it needs to be fucking changed.
Sometimes may be good, sometimes may be shit.
Fucking true. Like very few people like read all of a movement's literature and then go, yeah, I'm doing that now. Yeah, no, I'm going to become a liberal because I read all of fucking Kant or something. Like it's nonsense. Yeah, most people get into it because, like, they're poor, or they're, I don't know, they've their communities were destroyed by neoliberalism or whatever. So yeah, that seems perfectly reasonable. And I don't think that makes it unpolitical, by the way. I think the person who gave this quote is a fucking idiot. I don't think that's unpolitical in the slightest. It might be unlearned, it might be lumpen proletariat rather than...
Get some help.
Fucking, the fucking elitist vanguard. Which, by the way, MLs, can you crawl out of your own arse for a second? Literally, when they go on about themselves being the most advanced communists, like, you are fucking pathetic. You absolute crochet perverts. Shut the fuck up.
Whatever the veracity of his words, it's a rather good chance to ask some questions. As he died a nominal comrade, we can easily use him as that stamp. But if he decided to throw away those beliefs in his latter days, you could easily make the argument that he wasn't a real communist. He'd never read Marx. It is an absurd...
So? I don't think you need to have read Marx. You don't have to be a theoretician to be a communist.
Fact that lots of famous artists and intellectuals of the early 20th century were sympathetic, if not complete adherents to socialism. but there's rarely any talk as to the why. If you ask me, it was a pre-welfare state, pre-social democratic world. Their rejection of the status quo had to be realized somewhere. Historical context is very important when analyzing someone's positions. So were all of these people socialists? I'll let you decide for yourself.
Yes. To varying degrees and in varying ways. I'm sure they'd have all disagreed with each other because they're leftists. So obviously they would disagree with one another. That's what being a leftist is about. Disagreeing and being more right than the other people. That's it. Thank you to... Hang on, what happened? I missed bits, didn't I? Thank you, Over Storing with Bitty Bits. Thank you to Fuzzmoz from 52 minutes ago. That's how well I'm watching. Boris, another PM who didn't speak English as a first language. He spoke bollocks as a first language. True. Very true. Thank you, I Can't Give a Duck, for gifting a sub to Clitoris. I'm glad someone found it. And thank you, Lord Fritos, for 67 months. Lord Fritos, honestly, please seek assistance. Medical intervention. 67 months. That's mental, mate. Have you considered therapy? Or just, you know, drugs? Lots of drugs.
One of the great beauties of anarchism is its fluidity in this regard. It is a process of undoing authoritative structures, not a specific adherence to one person's particular thought that must be vigor tested. Anarchist ethics are ones that embrace flexibility, uncertainty, and are always redefining what it really means to be an anarchist. Resisting the status quo, embracing this ambiguity rather than trying to pin down anarchism as a specific ideology or political project.
Well, that's the thing. It's not, for me, anarchism isn't... Look, I'm not saying it's not a philosophy, but it's like a never-ending thing, which is fine, by the way, because humanity hopefully is a never-ending thing. But it's not. There isn't an end goal to it. There's not something to be achieved. The achievement is in doing it. Does that make sense? I don't know. Maybe. I'm full of shit. I don't know. Anyway. Pardon me. Did a burpy burp. Did a thing happen? Yeah. Thank you, SW Alex, for becoming a member on the YouTubes. Much love to you. Honestly, if you need me to, like, harass woodland creatures that owe you money, I will do that. I'll punch a badger in the dick. I don't care.
It doesn't mean that anything go, but that we as a collective decide what goes here and now, and not that it is universal. Boots Riley, who is himself Marxist-Leninist aligned, once claimed that it is largely due to the effects of anti-communism for the emergence of many anarchist tendencies. Anti-communism...
really...
Sometimes it may be good, sometimes it may be shit.
Quite so. Thank you, Elora Smith, for becoming a member on the YouTubes. Much love. Much fucking love. Again, aforementioned harassment of animals that owe you money. I wonder if there's anything else. No, I'm not just gonna shake them down because you don't like them. Look, I think they would have to have wronged you in some way. Look, if I'm gonna shout abuse at a deer, I think it has to be for a good reason. I don't think it's just a personal beef, you know. What do you mean straight up ignoring SW? What are you talking about? What are they saying? What? In 50 minutes I'll be out of alcohol and I won't be here. What? I mentioned that they became a member. I literally said I'd fucking punch a badger in the cock for them. What? I don't know what else you expect from a man than to punch badgers in the penis. Do badgers have a penis? I presume they do. I'm not fucking Googling that. Jesus Christ.
Is certainly playing a role, but forgive me for critiquing popular African-American communists, but within this narrative, Riley is showcasing some ignorance. As we've gone over, anarchist ideas, theorists, and movements have all been widespread regardless of any Red Scare being present. And ironically, whilst highlighting reactionary narratives, you might have overlooked that this same argument can also be applied to anarchism. Arguably, even more so. In the words of Joyce Messier.
Who?
A badger penis is called a tadger. A badger tadger. And badger nadgers, of course.
And the anarchists, too. They shot them well. So well, one forgets they even existed.
What is the general view of anarchism in the mainstream? Bunch of idealist, middle-class edgelords who live off their parents and just want to watch the world burn. They don't have theory. They don't understand economics. They just want to piss on the floor and smoke weed.
Yeah, that does sound pretty cool, to be honest.
If you want to claim that communism had a hack job made about it, anarchism had the nail in the coffin. Communist ideals still have a degree of mainstream prominence. This is particularly evident in the academy. Anarchist history, by comparison, has until relatively recently just been thrown into the pool of irrelevance by wider society. How much might people know about the McCarthyist witch hunts of the 1950s, compared with the much more violent first Red Scare and its aftermath, of which, due to their prominence at the time, anarchists were some of the most targeted...
To be fair, the McCarthyist Red Scare was a witch hunt, right? Completely unacceptable, anti-democratic, fascistic bullshit, fucking witch hunt. The first Red Scare, I'm not saying that everything that went down there was good, because clearly it wasn't. But, like, anarchists were assassinating motherfuckers. Like, they were like blowing people up and killing people, and look, I get that there would be a reaction to that. The propaganda of the deed was one of the most ill-conceived concepts, I think, in terms of public relations, and indeed in terms of bringing down state force upon you. You know, just saying.
Even within anarchist spheres themselves, long-forgotten figures and narrative-altering stories suddenly emerge and illuminate as if out of the thin air. Like Yi Hui-yong, a moneyed Korean man who, after defecting to anarchism, used his entire fortune towards fighting the imperialist Japanese. On that topic, we can talk of Kotoku Shusui, who wrote an entire thesis on the understanding of imperialism 15 years before Lenin. Or probably my favorite example of all, that of Sholem Schwarzbart, a Jewish anarchist who lost nearly his entire family in the Russian Civil War due to pogroms, and gained his retribution in 1926 by shooting and killing the General Petlura, responsible for half the pogrom deaths during the war.
Epic dub.
After his trial, he was decided not guilty, and Petlura's family were forced to pay for his legal costs. There is also the possibility that after becoming disillusioned from the Red Army, he fought alongside Makhno, and would later associate with various comrades of history in Paris. And yet, while I was doing a bit of my usual perusing around the blogosphere, I came across this. Sholem is now only a Red Army veteran, despite it being a relatively minor part of his life. Suffice to say, there has been an observed trend of anarchists being
To be fair, that's a tweet. I don't know what you're expecting from a fucking tweet in terms of nuanced analysis of a person's entire biography.
Conveniently written out of the history books, and contemporary socialists, whether knowingly or unknowingly, have always tended to find ways as to not bring up their importance.
Do you have an alternative? What's your alternative? Are you an anarchist? Is that what your alternative is? Like,
isn't this the guy that did 9/11 and lives in a house?
this notion is hilarious. People with my mindset and the mindset of many others in this community have fought long and hard for a lot of the amenities. That you don't like child labor. Child labor is hyper exploitative. It's ridiculous. Well, thank a fucking union for that. Thank the communists for that, for fighting long and hard through.
Finally, those capitalist pigs will pay for their crimes, eh? Hey, comrades, hey?
Literal labor militancy through battles with blood, sweat, and tears. You like the weekend? Thank a union for that. Thank some communists for that, okay?
The Haymarket affair occurred during a strike for the 8-hour day. During a demonstration organized by the anarchist org, the International Working People's Association, a bomb was thrown into the square, which subsequently led to 4 anarchists facing the noose after being falsely accused of conspiracy. The subsequent cause célèbre created during their trial and gruesome deaths gave birth to the historic International Workers' Day, the unofficial holiday of socialists and workers across the globe. But now let's see Jyoti Brar of CBGBML describing
not this transphobic shithouse. Ugh.
the event from her perspective.
On the way here today, my daughter was asking me, why is today Workers' Day? Why are we going? Why are we wearing red? What is this all about, Mum? And I said to her, well, there's a historical reason, which is that in the 1880s they conducted a militant strike for better pay and conditions and were attacked. They were massacred by the US police, and then their leaders were hanged, ironically, as murderers.
So, just strike.
Yeah, syndicalism is a form of anarchism, yeah. Based around trade unions.
Leaders in a vaguely alluded to socialist movement so that they can be reclaimed as their martyrs. No mention of their anarchism, because to do so would mean Jyoti might need to answer a few more of her kids' questions. I'm not bringing this up to be petty. I could just as easily point to the wide range of figures whose more radical political nature is often hidden by mainstream society and the socialist efforts to reclaim and repudiate their stances. In the same way, anarchists are not just going to sit down and watch people butcher and redwash their legacy.
You've got to say the production value is a really beautiful video. Regardless of the content, the actual it's a very, very nice video.
Narratives are important too. They are not just a footnote in history. It is largely due to anti-anarchism and Soviet hegemony which explains the rise of pro-communist alignment in the West. It's ironic because, arguably, Boots is very much the ideal candidate with which to talk about this.
I mean, it must be very interesting for you as a well-known anti-capitalist artist and organizer.
Communist.
Before I came to the left, I asked anarchists, if cooperative businesses are so much better, why are they not everywhere? And obviously there's a plethora of reasons as to why, but the overarching one is quite simply that...
Is he using AI? No, I don't think so. Because his videos have always been really good. Visually. The content is not always great, but, you know, that's politics for you.
We live in an society which incentivizes verticality, as opposed to decentralization. Schools of the Leninist and social democratic vein are still very much applicable towards this format. Anarchism not so much. It's a school very much alien to mainstream opinion. It's interesting to note this for Leninism especially because whilst appearing very radical on the surface, dig a little deeper and you'll notice that there's an enormous amount of pining for general common sense. It never stops amusing me seeing Leninists upholding the regimented Prussian-inspired school system as essential and in line with communist ethics. One might wonder what happened to the ruthless critique of compulsory education. Prisons will still exist, but they'll just be the good prisons, which will only ever throw away fascists, and certainly never just put people in because of general grievances directed towards the powers that be. How could they? The power is in the hands of the workers now.
Exactly. The gulags notoriously were an absolute exemplar of justice and jurisprudence probity.
And too often the description of a worker's state seems almost parallel with that of a capitalist one, where workers will attend socialist workplaces to earn socialist wages in order to buy socialist commodities, all whilst being protected by the socialist police. Say what you want about that, but there's very little radical here. The status quo is simply shifting, not being ruptured from. This makes it far more palatable to a liberal palate. And I bring this...
Do you mean palatable?
This up because when I look back to the anarchism of my youth, I'm 31, I do seem to remember how my mindset was still wrestling with the ruptures which anarchism took even from conventional socialist practice. It was always difficult to understand the culture of it all. Things appeared so disorderly. You never got the full information upon new projects being created. There was never a direct push for recruitment, etc. Only in hindsight now does it all suddenly seem to make sense the way that things were. The disorderly appearance might be explained by the desire to work at our own speed and comfort, to reduce burnout by working within our means. The lack of full disclosure on projects is simply an outgrowth of the practice of security culture. And when you do things right, you'll never have to meet a new recruit ever again. Because they're your comrades, not just numbers on a spreadsheet, cogs in a machine, wages for some old man. I was a newly minted anarchist when my nephew was born, and I thought maybe I should get him a book to introduce him to anarchist ideas. A Rule is to Break seemed promising and was widely recommended to me. However, looking into it a bit more, I felt like it might give him the wrong idea. Sure, ask why might be a good idea in abstract between intelligent and informed adults, but a child might interpret that as ask why to literally anything, even the most minuscule of concepts, I think. And I can't...
Also, children do that anyway.
...put that stress upon my sister. Today, I wouldn't have thought twice about getting him that book. Of course, I probably wouldn't on account of that I don't really feel comfortable forcing blatant politics down my family's throat anymore, but I think it's a good showcase of where my mindset was. The first was being helicoptery and neurotic, considering me and my journey, whatever problems I went through, fine, but that everybody now needs to adhere to my workflow. The latter is granting agency, valuing someone's autonomy and growth over what are, for the most part, mild difficulties. Looking back at my life, that is the very sort of advice that I wish I'd been given. It would have helped me become a much more assertive person far earlier in my life. There may well be a lot of anarchists who still haven't fully embraced that mindset, and instead hinge their beliefs on pragmatism and efficiency. Which brings us to what is surely one of the...
What is the point of this video? Can I just ask? Like, I'm really not getting the idea of what the point is being made here. It all seems a bit aimless.
Most pervasive reasons for throwing in the black towel. I think it's fair to say that every anarchist will at some point face the dreaded question of, how will it be done? Slavoj Žižek once said something to the effect of, how do you get
ideology, Schniff,
water? A very pervasive one I've seen is, how will you defend against counter-revolution? Others I've come across, how will you get scarce resources? How will you make glasses? Quite an interesting one is, how will you create insulin? Because DIY insulin is very much a real existence.
I do it with my pancreas. Diabetics get wrecked. I can do that joke. My mum's diabetic. Leave me alone.
Thing, and biohackers have been at it for a long time. Certainly there is reason to be concerned with all of these arrangements coming from the outside, but when it comes to whether the crux of an ideology is valid, whether you choose such a process to go with, I find there's always a mistake being made here.
Have you thought about getting your nieces and nephews into leftist politics? They're a bit young at the minute, to be honest. I mean, I will try and teach them the ways of the Kevolution, but yeah, they're very young at the minute, to be honest.
These questions all seem to belong within the area of what I like to call the how-what dimension. They look at things in a very pragmatic way, which is again backed up primarily by the status quo.
Why are people shouting at me in chat? What? What? They will be wrecked in a large-scale war. What are you talking about? Eric got fired for refusing to load arms for Israel in Scandinavia. What? Swedish dockworker fired over blockade of Israeli weapons. That was from May last year. I mean, I'll read the thing when I'll get back to you on it, but that's, yeah. Thank you. I can't give a duck.
They're accustomed to. And when things don't apply to their current understandings of how society appears to work, they will say, that's stupid, grow up. But when we get down to it, do our politics really begin at the level of pragmatism and strategy? Or is there something deeper? Perhaps the values, the why of what we believe. The fundamental anarchist critique of state power as a strategy is not driven by a moralist imperative, states are bad, but rather that such a method will never lead to the ends which you desire. That's because at the core of this apparatus lies a conflict between those whose interests are towards the state and those whose interests are constricted by them. Just like the conflict of interest driven between those with capital versus those without, there is virtually zero possibility of those in power voluntarily rejecting their...
Yeah, the morality is, again, intrinsically linked. I'll be honest with you, this is rambly and drivelly, really. I'm not enjoying this, to be honest.
Interests. The state is a
And if I'm not enjoying it, I assume you aren't either. I don't know.
Hierarchical institution, and thus it will develop ways to self-sustain such hierarchy. Changing conditions do not suddenly change the primary function of such an institution. That's where the basis of the critique comes from. And by doing this, we get past the banal and tired questions of who will build the roads, and instead discuss the core principles of an ideology. Now the onus is upon the questioners themselves to first answer the question of state legitimacy and authority, to which the answers you'll find
My son said he would vote for the blue party because he likes the colour. Have you tried beating your son with a fucking stick? Pavlovian conditioning, it's the only way.
To be an appeal towards human nature, or a completely different and frankly flawed interpretation of what the state represents. Insisting that state formation will always occur, as it is simply a representation of whose will is in force. People are always so insistent upon the how of a given system, yet never seem to grasp the fundamental whys of what they believe and how it will affect people. It's by no means an all-proof comparison, but I found the contrast with veganism to be a helpful one for understanding this. Vegans, as I'm sure you're all aware, have an enormous overabundance of silly arguments for why their system can't work. What about this? What about that? And obviously some more pragmatic and compelling than others. But the point of veganism doesn't start with a checkpoint solution for how every matter will be solved. It starts with a principle. That we should avoid the consumption of animals and their products as much as possible. If you take that on board, you will quickly notice how all of those arguments become...
Okay, but this undermines your argument about Pablo Picasso from earlier. You were like, well, maybe he's not really a socialist because he didn't read Marx. You don't have to have read Marx. Understanding that you support the poor is enough, isn't it? You don't have to be a deep theoretician. You can just have like a moral principle that the poor should be not poor. You know? How much more of this slop is left? 4 minutes.
Not necessarily things to ignore.
Well, I keep pausing, so it'll be about 2 hours.
But not anything that would destroy the integrity of your beliefs. Because you're no longer balancing them on the what, you're balancing them on the why. From there you will get your answers following the framework you've decided upon, The same is very much true for anarchism. People might question the pragmatics of large-scale agriculture under a system of delineated power. In doing so, they're only presupposing the way that we do things now. Anarchist values, on the other hand, heavily point towards permaculture, the art of creating long-lasting sources of food which require little handiwork.
Oh, you mean Malthusian fucking serfdom? That's a callback to an earlier video.
All whilst having shown great potential to be as efficient as other methods. This method favours a delineation of power, with reduced working hours and granting immediate access to the surrounding people. Some might argue...
Are you doing anything after this slot? Let me have a look. How long have I been going? I've been going 2 hours, so now I think we're probably done. Are you looking to get away early, are you? You're not even going to stay to the final whistle? Quitter!
That these are the ideals which go hand in hand with a system that many of us aspire to. Political anarchism did not exist transhistorically. It evolved in modern times through theory and practice based on their understanding of social relations. The historic anarchists of all stripes came up with their praxis by working through the framework they decided upon. A framework of eliminating and combating all forms of authority wherever they see them. And if we agree with the central premise that authority is not self-justifying and will only further solidify its power, you can't then take up the idea of, well, a little bit of hierarchy for the meantime, because it stands in complete contradiction with your principle. Not a tendency then, but an
So a dogma. There's no leeway, there's no wiggle room, it's just, you know, absolutism. Okay. Cool, I mean, look, if that's what you believe, that's what you believe, right?
Ongoing process of experimentation which has no end. It's fair to say that I've gone through quite a few political transformations over the years. To some it's become a bit of a meme, even Urban Dictionary has some words to say about it. And to others it might well be reason enough to dismiss my points out of hand as a spineless ideology shopper. I can't change the past, but if I had anything to say about it, it would simply be the unfortunate truth that I was young. And when you're young and inexperienced, you tend to make rather silly decisions under the impression that you're older and more mature than you really are. My story is far from unique, and anybody who says otherwise is talking shit. The way of thinking that helped me rekindle those anarchic beliefs as I got older was again not on the what, but on the why. And if I believe this, how can I justify X to achieve Y? Eventually I realized that I could not balance the aims of the internationalist social...
It's mad to me that he's like back to being an anarchist now, because like he was putting out videos being like, oh, East Germany was fucking awesome like 2 years ago or something.
Socialist ideals with the strategy put forward by Marxist-Leninists, and that's something that I have yet to hear a good answer to. It's not a requirement for every anarchist to know every who, what, and how things will be done, but it is enough for us to balance our methods with our conclusions. Looking at this then in retrospect, Pendleton's sentiment ironically comes across as the actual juvenile projection, filled with an inflated ego reminiscent of an arrogant, self-important stylist mentality. To paraphrase from one subcommandante Marcos, whoever has stopped with the thought that their truth should be the truth for everybody and forever will sooner or later dedicate their force not so that their truth will be born, grow, be fruitful, and die, but rather use it to kill everything that doesn't agree with this truth.
That's pretty good, yeah. That's true. Is that it? We done? I think that's it. There's some seconds of darkness. And we're done. Okay, well. That was a thing that happened. I don't know that I have any analysis for that other than it was a bit smug, wasn't it? It was a bit fucking smug. Yeah. Good night, all. I have an appointment at the Tavistock Clinic in London tomorrow, so I need to get up to go. Well, go. Yeah, Chloe, go and be fruitful, and hopefully that works for you. Hopefully you get what you require, etc., etc. We're rooting for you. Anyway. Yes, I'm gonna leave now and go and I don't know, watch some sport or something. Just chill. Fucking hell. That was a bit more intense than I was hoping for. I mean, thank you 255. They were good suggestions. Just, you know, I should have probably spread them out a bit. Go and check out Hannah Reloaded, because I'm going to raid into them on the Twitch machines. They're covering the Afro Man trial in a bit more detail. So go and check them out. They're cool. And on YouTube. Who's going on YouTube? Oh, the serfs are going, so I'll send you over there. Okay, everyone. I'll be back tomorrow. No, it's gone midnight, so today. Possibly with Christy, but I can't guarantee that. Thank you all for listening and watching. Thank you, everyone, for your support. Free Palestine. No pass around.